Well, Joseph Smith and his associates chose the speediest form of travel they could think of, which was to take canoes down the Missouri River. At the time, the Missouri River was known as one of the most dangerous waterways in North America. It had all kinds of currents and eddies, and one of the most dangerous things were these trees called sawyers that had fallen into the river that could snag boats and sometimes overturn them, where a person could be swept down by the current. Joseph Smith and his group chose to travel by canoe. And they traveled pretty quickly for the first 3 days until the third day, when Joseph Smith said many of the dangers so common upon these western waters manifested themselves. Along the way, there were other dangers too, not just physical. The missionaries were fighting with each other and arguing. Ezra Booth, one of the missionaries, noted that a spirit of animosity and discord was manifested among the group, and the conduct of the elders became very displeasing to Oliver Cowdery. Oliver Cowdery, in turn, became so upset that he prophesied that as the Lord liveth, if you do not behave better, some accident will befall you. Well, on the third day, an accident does happen. The canoe that Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon are traveling in hits one of these sawyers, one of these trees under the surface of the water, and almost capsizes. And there was great danger that they'd be drowned. In consequence of this, Joseph Smith asked everybody to travel to the side of the river and take a break for the night. While they were standing there on the side of the river, an unusual thing happened. The historical record just says simply this: Brother William W. Phelps, in open vision by daylight, saw the destroyer in his most horrible power ride upon the face of the waters. Joseph Smith also noted that others heard the noise, but they did not see the vision. Now, I want to emphasize, we don't fully know the meaning of this manifestation. After the manifestation was given, Joseph Smith asked for a revelation and was given section 61 of the Doctrine and Covenants, which doesn't explain the manifestation, but teaches us a few things about water in the last days. Among the things that have sometimes risen as a kind of folklore associated from this section is the idea that Satan controls the waters. Now, let's get a couple things straight. William W. Phelps just said that he saw the destroyer. And the destroyer doesn't always refer to Satan. In fact, if you add up the uses in Scripture, most of the time the destroyer is someone associated with God. For instance, during the Passover in Egypt, the Lord said he would send a destroying angel, but that the Israelites would be protected if they followed his instructions. In an 1834 revelation given to Joseph Smith, the Lord said, "Behold the destroyer I have sent forth to destroy and lay waste to my enemies. And not many years hence they shall not be left to pollute mine heritage and blaspheme my name upon the lands which I have consecrated to the gathering together of my saints." There is one place, however, in the Doctrine and Covenants where Satan's referred to as the destroyer. That's in section 101, where the Lord warns of his vineyard being harmed by the hands of the destroyer. So we don't know if W. Phelps saw Satan or if he saw an angel that worked on behalf of God. All we know was that the vision was frightening. And if we haven't been given the interpretation of a vision, we're not really held responsible for it. Joseph Smith, in an 1843 discourse, said, "I make this broad declaration, that wherever God gives a vision of an image or beast or figure of any kind, he always holds himself responsible to give a revelation or interpretation to the meaning thereof. Otherwise, we're not responsible or accountable for our belief in it. Don't be afraid of being damned for not knowing the meaning of a vision or a figure where God has not given a revelation or interpretation on the subject." What the revelation that was given to Joseph Smith did say was that the waters in the last days had been cursed and would be a source of destruction. The Lord even says specifically that the waters had been cursed by the hand of his servant John. We assume that means John the Revelator, who did see in the book of Revelation several destructions, several cataclysmic events associated with the waters. If you look in Revelation chapter 8, John saw a great mountain burning with fire that was cast into the sea, and that a third part of the sea became blood, and a third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and a third part of the ships were destroyed. So in the last days, there were going to be destructions by the waters. That doesn't mean that Satan controls the waters. It's one of those conditions or calamities that exist around us. And in the last few years, in many different places around the world, we've seen a number of cataclysmic events associated with water. Whether it's a hurricane or a tsunami or you name it, there's a number of things that have caused destructions from the water specifically. Now, the question is, does Satan control the waters? Well, do priesthood control the waters? There are other instances in the latter days where men and women exercising the power of God have been given the blessing to also influence and control the waters. One well-known story occurred in 1851 when a company of Latter-day Saints who were immigrating to America on the ship Olympus were struck by a severe Atlantic storm. Horace A. Wilson, who was the captain of the ship, sent his second mate to speak with the leader of the Latter-day Saint company. And he told them that if the God of the Mormons could do anything to save the ship and the people, they'd better be calling on him to do so, for we're now sinking at a rate of a foot an hour, and if the storm continues, we will be at the bottom of the ocean before daylight. William Howe, who was the leader of the Saints on the voyage, sent back a notice to the captain to not worry, that God would protect them. He then invited all of the Latter-day Saints to kneel down and pray. As they were praying, the pitching and the rolling of the ship ceased and the storm abated. Both the captain of the ship and the Latter-day Saints attributed their salvation to divine intervention, and later 50 people were baptized during the remainder of the voyage.